Hey there folks, today I'm shooting a short video about propagating comfrey, but before that we were having a short walk with the toddler. And we gathered a couple of handful of walnuts, and we ate some of the medwars which are now beginning to break properly on the tree. I'll make a separate video about those, but I'll just crack a few walnuts for him to munch on, while I'll show you how I propagate my comfrey plants around the fruit trees in winter. So I'm here next to a young cherry tree. It will be grafted with 3 different varieties in spring, but in the meantime I have started preparing around the soil by planting some beneficial plants such as perennial alliums and comfrey. Let me turn you around and show you what we have here. So this is the base of the tree, and last year about this time in late November, early December, I dug out a few comfrey roots, chopped them to about 2 or 3 centimeter pieces, and planted them around the base of this little young cherry tree. And this is the perennial garlic. It's we call it grass garlic here. It's a garlic which makes only leaves but hold throughout the whole season. The seeds are now properly ripe. You can see the seed head. I will be gathering those and scattering it around the other trees. It grows well from seed on its own, and you can also start a seedling bed with them. But the comfrey is my main focus in the recent years around the fruit trees. When we first started our orchard, we did mixed perennial herbs plantings around the fruit trees. So there was sage, oregano, some mint, a few other alliums like Egyptian walking onions, etc. But with the passing of the time and the fact that our trees are mostly not watered at all, most of the herbs died out, and some of them we moved away because we wanted to make dedicated herbal beds for easier picking. And you can see, for example, this bigger cherry which already is fruiting for several years, and we're seeing great fruit on it. It has only a couple of mint plants here down by the stem, so it will be great to have more comfrey around this tree. The comfrey acts not only as a ground cover, but it's also very beneficial because of its deep tap roots, and also because it's mostly indestructible. So even in extreme drought and no watering, it still grows. You can also chop and drop it multiple times per season, especially if there is some moisture. I have clips of that. I'll link them in the description probably, if I don't forget. But my main aim with this plant is to use it as forage for hens. It's a very protein-rich leaf. It can be dried and stored for winter, and it can be chopped and dropped in the regular hen feed. So the idea is the whole orchard down there, all the 20-something trees, to have comfrey growing in a circle around them, not only to conserve moisture, but to use the herb as a future feed for the hens which we'll be having. So now I'll put the camera down and show you how I dig out some of the roots and how I propagate them around the other plants. So while I'm digging around the fruit trees, I'm usually using a digging fork. It's less damaging to the tree roots. It's a bit harder to dig out the comfrey, but that's not really a problem with such an abundant plant. You can see here that this whole plant, like a clump of it, It's a very nice size plant, and this thing, it grew from a single root cutting which I planted here last autumn. So I'll show you what the root looks like. I'm just putting the fork in and moving it around. The idea is not to dig it like with a spade, but to just allow me to use my hands to extract the roots and not tear apart too many of the cherry roots, of the tree roots. Okay, so here we have it. You can see what a massive root clump the comfrey is. Lots of worms here. This whole thing started from a single cutting, not thicker than this one, and about half that long. So it's a vigorous grower. Look at the thickness of that root. What I'll be doing now in order to propagate the plant is just break away those roots. You can hear how snappy they are. They snap really easily. Collect all the pieces. Some of them are rotten, but that's not a problem. Each of those pieces will become new plant, and it will grow along the other fruit trees. The most rotten pieces I'm discarding, but the pieces which are healthy I'm keeping and planting. And you might be thinking that by digging this plant out of here, I won't be having any comfrey growing, but most of the roots of the comfrey remain in the soil. If I continue digging here downwards, I have lots and lots of roots in the soil, and it will regrow in spring. Maybe not as vigorously as this one, but, and if I want to be extra sure, I'll just stick a piece of the root back in the place, or maybe even stick the clump back, separate that, and stick one of them back in its original location. Cover it with soil, no need to be too fussy about it. Some mulch from the leaves I just took out of it, and this is how I have planted comfrey plants all along the trees which currently have it. The idea is to plant 6 or 7 of those cuttings next to each of the trees and to have them circle around the main stem. So I'm now next to the older cherry tree, more developed, and when I have to plant some comfrey around, I usually like to aerate the soil a bit and see if I have any other herbs, and being careful not to destroy them, and also weed a bit. So I'll just quickly remove the leaf litter to see what's growing where. It already is smelling strongly of mint. So yes, I have some of the mint still growing here. It probably likes the shade of the cherry tree. A walnut. Most of our trees get walnuts planted by the blue jays and the magpies, and I usually remove about 20 to 30 walnut seedlings each year from around the trees, and many more from the vegetable garden. I'm just quickly cleaning around. So this is the mint here, it's growing well. So what I'll be doing now, using the digging fork, is similar to what I did to uproot the comfrey. Just push it in the soil, don't turn the soil over, pull it out, repeat. As we cannot afford nor do we have a source for wood chips. We are not able to mulch our fruit trees with ramial wood chips as I would like to have them. So weeding is a part of the maintenance we have to do yearly. Now that we have that done, I'll use the roots from the Comfrey which I took from the other cherry. This is a violet, Viola Dorato, so I'll be leaving that. Very nice ground cover, usually considered invasive but not in our conditions. So this is the root of the Comfrey. I'm just snapping it in half and I'm just sticking the root in the soil like that. No need for any fancy preparations, just have the root planted at about 5 to 10 centimeters in depth. You can even use the thicker pieces. I'll have 6 or 7 of those planted around, and then I'll be using the rest for another tree which has no comfrey or just not enough comfrey currently. The idea is to have a circle of comfrey around the stem. I dug around here. I found some bulbs, probably very interesting. Let me try and show you that. Those are the bulbs of the garlic which I showed you the seed head earlier. I usually spread the seeds around, so some of those seeds have been spread around this cherry tree, and last season they grew and they formed the bulbs, and even they have leaves now. So I'll be putting those back in the soil and they will grow next year. I really like finding those random plants around in the garden. Always seems like a bit like a treasure hunt, because it's not only us that do the propagation, but many times it's the animals, the birds. Okay, those are the last pieces of comfrey which I'm putting here. I'll be done, and this will be the end of today's video. So I have a few of the roots left. Those will go around another tree. I will return the leaf litter around the tree now, and if I manage, I'll bring some straw from our mulch pile and put that here as well. And this is the tiny oregano plant which I found here under the leaf litter. So that was all for today, folks. Tomorrow I'll probably be moving some hazels around and I'll take you along for that, but I'll see you then.